Well, good morning, everybody. It's almost Thanksgiving, and so I wanted to talk to you about the hand of God. We talked about Esther, and God was never mentioned in the book of Esther, but as you go through Esther, you see the hand of God. And so I want to talk about Thanksgiving and how that came to be. Now, back in the 1500s, a man named Hunt came over and he kidnapped a young Indian from the Patuxet tribe. That little boy's name was Squanto. I can't pronounce his name, but Squanto is what we call him. Uh, he took him over and sold him into slavery in Spain, and he eventually ended up in England where he was taught English and he was taught the ways of the English people. He escaped and came back to America on another ship in 1519, I believe, and he found that his whole tribe, the Patuxet tribe, had been wiped out by some disease. That whole area was thought to be cursed by the other tribes, and so the other tribes wouldn't go anywhere near it. So Squanto lived with another tribe. Now let's go to the Pilgrims, 1520. They come to America. They're sailing across the ocean. A giant storm hits. This storm blew the Mayflower all over the place and actually blew it 400 miles off course. And where did it land? Well, we all know it landed at Plymouth Rock, but it landed and they established their first colony in this cleared out area where the Patuxet used to live. I'm not saying God came down and killed the Patuxet people, but with sin, bad things happen, and God uses it for His glory. And so the Pilgrims established their territory where the Patuxet used to live, which was already cleared, already prepared for them, and it was a storm that drove them south 400 miles to live there. That's not where the story ends. A young Indian boy, who was the last surviving Patuxet, came speaking English, was able to establish rapport between the tribes and the Pilgrims, able to teach these new immigrants from England because the seeds they brought didn't do too well in the New World. But he was able to teach them how to plant corn, how to actually work the land here in America. Squanto became an integral part of the Pilgrim life, and he died in the arms of their leader several years later from what the leader called Indian fever. We don't know what Squanto died of, but because of that one man came over, kidnapped that child, the Pilgrims were able to survive. That first winter was rough. Some people say they survived on 5 grains of corn each a day. And a lot of them passed away that first winter. But when Squanto came and the second harvest came, they decided to celebrate. They had wild game birds, I believe it was turkey. They had eel from the ocean. They had venison and the corn that they had harvested. And they sat down and they just had a wonderful feast with their neighbors. Um, and that's where our Thanksgiving comes from. Because when we look back, we can see the hand of God in all of that. God prepared the way for the Pilgrims to come. They landed on land that other Indian tribes thought was cursed, and so they left it alone. They left these people alone, thinking they're going to die off. He prepared Squanto that could speak English and converse between the other tribes and them. It's just an amazing story of how America was established and the hand of God was in it. So when you think about it this Thanksgiving and you want to give thanks, maybe you want to give thanks for the kidnapping in your life. Maybe you want to give thanks for the storm in your life. Maybe you want to give thanks for the disease in your life.